You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by Referral Mortgages and Blue Panda Realty, with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate in our nation's capital.
Happy Friday. I got to work on my voice a bit here. It's the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. My name is Paul Stevenson. I'm here with Greg Campbell and David Warren. And
Hello.
We meet every week. We meet every week and we talk about real estate and we do the damn thing. So my name is Paul Stevenson. I'm one of the owners of Referral Mortgages here in Ottawa. We are a full service mortgage brokerage. We handle residential, commercial, construction financing, any type of financing you need for real estate. I'm here with Greg Campbell. Greg Campbell is a partner at Blue Panda here in Ottawa.
Hello.
He's a real estate agent. And my esteemed colleague, David Warren, who is also an owner of Referral Mortgages and an expert mortgage agent. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks. Thanks, Paul, for happy to be here always. I'm in my basement today, blurred out. There's a little bit of light behind me there. It's very basement. Interesting. Yeah, I'll be back in office in the pro setup next week.
And, that's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah.
It is mid-April.
How's it?
It is mid-April. The market is shifting. We have a landslide coming our way. Gregory, what are you seeing out there?
Oh, yeah. I'm seeing a lot, and I'm happy to talk about it because it's pretty wild. So, you know how we were wondering, every week we're wondering what's next, what's going to happen. And we have our somewhat of predictions, I guess. Well, right now, I would actually, especially within the next couple of weeks, I would love to be a buyer because there are listings coming out like crazy. Prices are stabilizing, and in certain areas, I'm actually seeing them like they're just not as extreme as they were. So a listing, for example, that was $550 3 weeks ago that sold for $600, let's say, is now going to be listing at $500 and maybe getting $575, $550. So that's more extreme than what I thought was going to happen. Of course, there's always, there's always homes that are spectacular that'll still command top dollar. There was a couple of sales yesterday actually that, were listed at $575 and they hit the 660s, 670s. In terms of row homes, but we're seeing a lot come out. There was 27 new row homes come to market in Orleans in the last 3 days. 27, and let me also say that's wrong. There was actually 31, and 5 of them sold in the first 3 days. So now there's 26 left. And most of them are open to preemptive offers. Almost all of them.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a big shift. Yeah,
that's good to hear. And I want to also, with you mentioning that and us using that, landslide at the opener there. I don't want, people shouldn't take it away that the market is falling or that it's more so that there's just that properties are being you'll start seeing them priced at their proper price point, and they just aren't going to be going for 100, 150, 200,000 over asking, where it's throwing a dart at a wall. It's, which I think is a great thing. I think it's good seeing more product come on the market. We've talked about it being very frustrating for buyers. You don't know what things are going to go for. It's difficult for appraisers, difficult for realtors, difficult for mortgage brokers. Everyone in the whole landscape. And so I think it's a positive thing when you see more product.
I'm interested to know of those sellers, what those sellers are actually expecting to get for their homes. I wonder what the discussions they're having with their real estate agent are.
So here's the other thing. Now, there's some that are coming out that I know the agents are being very smart and educating their sellers on how to market the home and what they should list at. And they see the same thing in the market. And then there's certain sellers. Here's another perfect example. So in the last week, I'm sure there's a few others, but I've seen 3 properties, actually 4 properties that did not get offers on offer date. and they all relisted at $50,000 to $125,000 higher.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like, and now they're sitting, and now no one's seeing them, and now they're screwed because with all the other ones coming out, they're probably going to have to take their house on the market. Because I guess for whatever reason they needed that number. I don't know.
The funny thing is that shows you the artificially low price point that some of these agents are using, right? When they're coming back, relisting at 100, 125, like, come on, why not just list it at 75 more than you would have originally? More realistic, more market.
Yeah.
But I have a client that a client that was referred to me. It was a sale in Beacon Hill. All Beacon Hill boys here on the show. Bungalow. As it was being listed, the realtor was having to go back ages to find comparables because there wasn't any in Beacon Hill that had been listed anytime recently. So it was hard to find a price point. No product on the market in Beacon Hill. Lo and behold, lists it a week and a half ago. The day they list, 4 other properties come on the market same week, and there hadn't been any on the market in Beacon Hill in like 6 months, 8 months. Kind of goes to show what you're talking about. They had 4 showings on the property. It did sell, but they only had 4 showings, or 8 showings. Sorry, 8 showings, where typically they would have had 30, something like that. And then my sister in Limoges, comparable, exact same model homes, end unit row, a street behind, sold for $570 a month and a bit ago. She got $506 for hers, simply because they're very happy with it. They've been there 6 years and their price over doubled, so they're very happy. But goes to show you what we've been talking about, of that gradual shift in showings of product coming on and all that. It does have a reflection, and I think it's important for the realtors out there listening that you need to have those conversations with your listing clients, that you're not, this isn't 2 weeks ago. This isn't 3 weeks ago. As crazy as that sounds, what your friend got a month ago or 2 months ago is not what you're going to get right now. And the Beacon Hill, you're talking about the ones that just came out, like Glenfern and then Blue Jay. They all just came out. That one on the corner on Glenfern and Ogilvy, that got 200 over, which is outlandish considering the location. I couldn't believe it. And I actually sold that house in 2013 before they did any renovations and everything. But man, I think right now, if you are a buyer that's been waiting, like your time has arrived. There's going to be a lot more to see soon. And I'm noticing on listings when I'm booking showings, because I always look to see how many other showings there are, so I can kind of gauge what I think is going to happen with offers. And on some of these, I'm booking showings and there's no one else. There's no other showings. So I don't know. I don't know if the new lockdown or whatever's going on has a little bit to do with it, or if it's just solely because there's so much new inventory coming out that every buyer is really taking the time and they're like, well, I don't need to go see that one because this one's the one that I want, and then maybe they'll go back to it later. But way less showings on listings. Yeah. I'm noticing it anyways. Yeah.
I wonder if the, we had a big buildup of buyers, and I just wonder if, we've been talking for the last few weeks about people kind of stepping away from the market and this and that. Yeah. So I think it's a combination of people being discouraged to buy, kind of taking a step back, and then more people wanting to get on the listing train. I mean, it's typical. I'm sure if we looked at charts that this time of year, the number of listings typically skyrockets, right? Or goes up, doubles. So, I mean, it might be a perfect storm for calming the market in the sense that, there's more listings coming out and some buyers have taken a step back. So it'll at least give it a week or two to kind of balance. And then hopefully there'll be sufficient inventory for the amount of buyers that are in the market. And that should help us come to kind of an even keel, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to happen way quicker than we anticipated. Because I remember, David, you were talking a few weeks ago about what it would take to create a true balanced market. Yeah. I'm just, with what I'm seeing, like that could happen way sooner than I thought. But I mean, we won't know until we see, what the next month brings next month or so. But right now, Like I got buyers that I've been working with and they're just like, holy cow, like we got so many that we could see now.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like we're going to be able to negotiate again soon.
Well, we'll see. Right. Because all those thousands of people that have been waiting in the wings, shopping, but not able to find something, or people that have taken a step from the market, it'll be interesting with all this new product of whether those thousands of people or tens of thousands of people say, okay, well now we can come out of hiding and then we get, and maybe in 3 weeks, we're right back to where we were. Who knows? I mean, kind of, it's a week by week fluctuation.
It is.
Jeff Rockburn just commented, who's an ace home inspector here in the city. He says home inspections are being waived, which is a very risky thing to do, and that's been the norm for some time. Which is and that's I would advise bringing an inspector with you, even if you're not doing an inspection.
And Jeff knows. Jeff's one of my guys, and I haven't seen Jeff. I think the last time I saw Jeff, he did a wet inspection on a fireplace for me, because I just haven't needed them to do anything. It's brutal, man.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we can do inspections again.
Yeah. It's surprising because I think I've spoken to Jeff before and he mentioned that you think that the volumes and number of deals that he's working on or other inspectors are working on are through the roof, but it's actually the contrary with all the volume that a lot of them aren't, because so many people are just waiving inspections, like he said. And so they're actually not having to do anything, which is surprising because you'd think that people would at least do a pre-inspection. Before that offer.
Bring an inspector on your first, when you're going to look at the home, bring an inspector with you.
We need to get Jeff on. We need to get Jeff on one of these weeks. Get his take on all this as well. What he sees, what he want to caution clients.
The other thing that I'm kind of surprised that we hear more often than you would think is clients coming to David and I, maybe I shouldn't speak for David, but I know we've talked about this before, asking us if they can go in with no conditional financing. Like I have so many clients asking me that. And the issue that I have is that it's their realtor that's asking them to ask us. Like the realtor should know that we cannot advise clients ever to go in without a condition for financing. That's a personal decision that clients have to make based on their own personal finances. I mean, we're here to advise you on what your buying power is and what kind of your ceiling limit would be based on income and debts and things like that. But I mean, we can't, especially given today's market, like we can't tell you, yes, you know what, you're ironclad. You don't have to put any conditions on your financing. Like we just can't do that.
Because we're not disclosed. They can bid what they're putting, they're asking us at, but then they're, the place is at 500. They're putting an offer at 650. Your numbers work. That doesn't mean the house is valued at that, and you're getting, that the people have to come up with that. Part of mortgages are not just your debt to income, but it's also house specific. What's the condition of that house? What's the value of that house? Can it be appraised at that? So those are things on the finance side that we can't give you absolute certainty. You need to take, that you as the buyer has to take that into your own hands. We can say your numbers work, but we can't tell you that the house is going to be valued or hit appraisal at what you're paying for it. We can't tell you, we can look at photos of a property, but maybe something's in the purchase agreement that identifies that there's UFFI or asbestos or some other thing that's added in there, aluminum wiring, anything like that, where this is going to be a trigger for the bank and they're not going to want to finance on it. They won't finance on a property that specifies there's asbestos, that there's UFFI. You'd have to have that remediated before closing. And that's not always, the sellers aren't always willing to do that or take that on. And that's not, your numbers and ratios can work, but that doesn't guarantee you that you're going to get a mortgage on that property. And I think there's a big misconception on that just because you can qualify doesn't mean that a bank is going to finance that property.
And I think sellers need to be understanding as well. I mean, obviously, if there's an offer with no condition for financing, and then there's one with a condition for financing, as a seller, you just want the path of least resistance. However, I would say based on everything Greg has said and that we're talking about, I would imagine that the first condition that's going to be sliding back in there is financing and inspection. I mean, those are the two that should be in there every time, right?
I have an interesting point on that. There's been, I've heard of 3 deals Well, one was mine actually about a year ago, and then 2 others recently where the seller took the offer with the financing condition because it was higher, and every time it fell through.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to go back on the market, and then they ended up getting a lesser price with and then everything closed. So it's like, it's when you hear stories like that too, it's like you should have a financing condition 100%. But then in this market, it's everyone that, like I've heard so many times that the ones that had the financing condition didn't pan out anyways for one reason or another.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty wild.
My conversation with clients whenever, and this is for any mortgage broker listening or any realtor, but anytime a client asks me if they can go in without a condition of financing, exactly as Paul said, it's the same, verbiage of, that's up to you, your income debt ratios work, but you need to be cognizant that if the house doesn't appraise or the condition or this or that comes back, you're going to have to make up that difference, or repairs are going to have to be made prior to closing. And so I put it back, actually, a lot of times I put it back on the realtor of, check with your realtor that there are comparables to support the price that you're paying, because there's going to be an appraisal that's going to be triggered. It's being triggered on almost every purchase right now. And there's a reason why appraisals are about 2 weeks behind. So quick closes aren't happening. Those 3-week quick closes just can't happen because it's about a 2-week turnaround for appraisers to appraise properties. But putting it back on them, we can't advise you to go in without a condition of financing because we don't know what the comparables are for that property either. We can't tell you that it's going to finance. Paul had one yesterday that came back where it was 50 grand light. Luckily, we're getting it another appraisal done on it to see if we can't, hit that value. But in that case, the person has a slush fund that they're able to make up that difference. But people going in with only 5%, 10% available, and don't have access to extra capital, if you don't hit that appraisal, you're kind of a lame duck. And that's
especially if you have no conditions in there. You have to bridge that gap, make up that delta, as Greg loves the word. Throw it in there. Something else that I saw this week, just to change gears a bit, I was reading a headline regarding the first-time homebuyer incentive, which was a program that we talked about a long time ago. Came out in 2019, proposed by CMHC. And for anyone who doesn't understand what the first-time homebuyer incentive is, it's basically an equity share program that the government created. So essentially, if you had 5% of your own money to put down, they would match that 5%. However, whenever you sell or refinance the property, you have to give them back 5% of the equity, not the 5% you borrowed. So, in the last few years, they're doing pretty well on their return of that 5%, I would imagine. But what was amazing out of it is that they had allotted, I think, $1 billion for this program, and only, I think, 17% of it has been used. 170 million. Of the 1.2 billion allotted. And I think the biggest thing with that, and we talked about this when it first came out, is the qualifications for it. Like, to qualify for it, you have to have less than 120,000 as a household income. You cannot buy a home more than 4 times your household income. And there's a few other things in there, but the restrictions, it's, 1 out of maybe 25 people would even qualify for it if they wanted to.
Yeah. The max you can buy if you're exactly 120,000 as a household income is 480,000 is the most you can get as a loan amount.
And the average home price is over 700,000 currently.
It's ridiculous. And then combining that 5% that CMHC is providing, you cannot exceed 20%. So the most you can put is 14.99%, get 5% from CMHC for 19.99. So you can't even buy the average house price in Ottawa. Because it's just not physically possible from a numbers standpoint. It's such a useless program. Again, it came out 3 years ago. Definitely a headline grabber by the Ministry of Finance, trying to say they were helping homeowners and first-time homebuyers, and it's just clearly not helping, not doing anything. So
we pulled the veil. We pulled the veil.
Headline grabbers.
As soon as it came out, we pulled the veil.
So it'll be interesting. Next Friday is the first budget that the Canadian government's put out in 2 years. So it'll be interesting to see. And that's when these changes to mortgages and things like that come out. And so it'll be interesting to see. Right now, that new stress test we talked about last week is not guaranteed. It pretty well is. They're basically, putting it out there to let you know it's coming. But that'll be formally, whether it is a go ahead or not is going to be announced next Friday, as well as any other changes. I've heard rumors of nationwide getting rid of the blind offers on purchasing, which would be interesting. I know we've talked about that before, and I know it's like city by city or board by board that makes that decision. But I've heard rumblings that might be across, as well as maybe difference in capital gains and all this nonsense. But so it'll be interesting to see next Friday what changes come about there. But speaking to CMHC, though, I had a funny interaction with CMHC yesterday. Client purchasing a home, their father-in-law is providing the down payment. It's, $160,000 down payment. The father-in-law he's not gifting it. He's loaning it in the sense that it's a no interest, no payment. But if they go and refinance or sell the home, basically he wasn't comfortable signing a gift letter, which is typically what the bank looks for, is a gift letter, or that it came from savings. In this case, father-in-law didn't feel comfortable signing a gift letter, which is completely fine. And I get it. And I've had that happen before. So we disclosed to CMHC, provided a letter from him stating it's zero interest, zero payments, et cetera, full disclosure to CMHC. They came back and asked, well, what are they going to do if they can't repay that $160,000? I said, well, they're putting in the equity, like it's the down payment on the home. They also have $400,000 in another property in equity, and they have $200,000 in their other rental in equity. And also, we're talking about are you reading your own headlines that the market is going to crash by 30%? Because that's what you're needing it to do, is crash on this house by 40% in order for them not to even be able to repay this like zero interest, zero payment loan. Like, are you like underwriters?
They're viewing it as almost
headlines
like
that have not come to fruition. It's like, I just laughed at them. I'm like, you're just out to lunch. If they sell or refinance on the road, they will repay a portion of it and have plenty of equity, or like their house would have to just plummet in value in order for that not to be able to happen.
That's crazy.
I thought it was comical.
So are they seeing it as like a second mortgage, essentially? They just don't want to.
I mean, it's not registered. No, because it's not registered on title.
I know, but I mean, that's
it was just full disclosure that they're not signing a gift. They're not comfortable signing a gift letter because it's not a true gift, which I do get. But basically they're asking, well, what if the market crashes and it had or what if the price comes? What if they can't repay that? The math works out to, I think it's 35% that the value would have to come down to not be able to repay a dollar of it. It's like,
well, it's the bubble. It's
$600,000 in other equity. Like, just unbelievable. But CMHC headlines.
Click me headline company.
The CMHC headline company. Is that the new name? Oh man, that's a good tag. That's a good tag.
What a week, though. What a week.
You know what, Paul? I wanted to. Just back on my post the other day, thanking everybody for watching us and tuning in, our new listeners and whatnot. Can you share some of the stats that we've had in the last week?
Yes.
The last little bit?
I should be able to share screen. So let me just, let me pull it up.
Because that was,
okay.
We're getting told by producer Steve not to share a screen.
The show might collapse. You got the numbers there, Paul?
Yeah. Well, they have.
Sorry for throwing a curveball your way. I just thought about it, man, and I like.
That's okay. I did send a photo.
It's pretty crazy.
I did send a photo this morning, Stephen. Just a screenshot. But basically, long story short, I mean, last March we basically had a 200% increase in listeners, which is amazing, and thank everyone. So in March we had, we laughed because I posted a photo. I think it was December, maybe, or January. And I remember saying, we had 40 downloads, and people kind of, sent me DMs kind of laughing, being like, that's funny that you're tracking that. You think, 40, like just kind of laughing at the fact that was like a thing, and then in December we had 67 downloads, January, 90, February, 240, March, 435, So doubled basically. And then
16 countries. 16 countries.
In 16 countries. And then this month we're just shy of 400 halfway through the month. So
sick.
All that to say that we're very grateful for everyone who tunes in, and we want to keep the content rich. So if there's something you do want to hear or talk about, or any headlines that you see during the week, just fire them over to us, and we'll slide them in. Absolutely.
We need to do another episode where we answer questions. We need to do that again.
Yes.
That was really fun. And I think we should maybe even do that next show.
Please post any questions on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, any questions you might have with regards to mortgages, real estate, Greg's amazing hair, whatever it may be.
I just took it down.
I certainly have hair envy.
A fresh shave. And, ask us any questions. We'll be happy to address them. We've done a Q&A episode in the past. We'll be happy to do another one. So please fire away. Well, gentlemen, should we get in the mood? Yes, let's do it.
So I have to say, Thibault, my brother, he did end up sending them. But I kind of picked out a few that, I had to pick out a few. My dad sent me a list of jokes a while ago, so I'm going to actually cue off that this week. So I have 4 for you. The first is, what did the big flower say to the little flower? Hi, bud.
Yes.
That's good.
Number 2. I couldn't figure out why the baseball kept getting bigger. Then it hit me. Number 3. Why don't koalas count as bears? They don't have the right qualifications.
Oh, wow.
And then lastly,
those are actually pretty good. Oh, sorry.
I got one more. How do you look for Will Smith in the snow? You just follow the Fresh Prince.
Wow.
That might be 4 for 4 this week.
Yeah.
And was that a split? I feel like the first 2 were a Bill, and the last 2
all four. All 4
Bill.
Yeah.
Bill comes with straight fire.
Straight with the heat.
Yeah. Seriously.
Stay right.
Those are killer.
Yeah. So again, we'll just reiterate, because I know we're kind of all over the place now, and if anyone is just tuning in, they're probably confused as to when shows are released, what the hell's happening. So every Friday we record live here on Facebook. This is episode 30. We're going to be here next Friday, 10 a.m. And then the show itself we release on our YouTube channel, Spotify, iTunes, basically every streaming platform. You can just search the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. Make sure to subscribe on there, even if it's just the podcast. And if possible, anyone who is an avid listener, if you're able to give us a review, that actually, believe it or not, goes a long way as far as getting in front of more people and being able to educate more people in the city on what's happening in the real estate market. So YouTube, even on the podcast platforms, just leaving a quick review, 4 or 5 stars, 5 preferably. Just thank you very much again, as Greg said, for listening, for supporting us.
We love you.
We love you.
Have a good week, gentlemen.
Remarks, gentlemen, going into the weekend?
I got nothing. I'm just going to work my way through this. It's going to be, I can't wait to report back next Friday, because I know this week's going to just be very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to this week more than any week this year, because I think it's going to change even more. Yeah. I think there's going to be about triple the amount of listings coming out. Like I'm starting to drive around and I'm actually seeing for sale signs again. Mm-hmm. It's like, holy shit, there's one here. Holy shit, there's one here.
Almost like a real estate market.
We got options. Sounds like a real estate market. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. We release on Tuesday, and then all week we just hear updates from back and forth of what's happening and what's hot. So it's definitely a fast moving market. And we'll be here next week telling you where it's at, what speed we're going.
Yeah.
Hit cruise control, put us on, and drift away. All right, guys. Enjoy the weekend. Stephen, thanks for your production skills, and listeners, we'll see you next week. Deuces.
Later.
The Ottawa Real Estate Podcast is brought to you by Referral Mortgages, Blue Panda Realty, and Stephen Hopkins Video. Thanks for tuning in, and please remember to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you.